Now, I keep telling you that Labor's crazy renewables zealotry will be their undoing, and that, of course, it will do enormous harm to you and the country in the meantime. As you know, my mantra is that this is a monumental act of national self-harm. Well, today it just got a lot worse. $60 billion worse. First, remember what Labor promised.
Reducing power prices by $275.
By 2025, $275 a year.
$275 a year.
We'll get power prices down by $275 a year.
They really should resign straight away, shouldn't they? That's just ridiculous. All we've seen is price increases of more than $275 a year. Of course, prices going up by up to double the amount that Labor promised to cut them. But now, with coal generators forced out of action, the others hanging on with no incentive for maintenance or upgrades, and renewables not up to the task, obviously, we are headed for major problems. The rivers of green investment capital to build out this clean, green energy source, you know, the one that is supposedly the cheapest and the one that's going to deliver all the green jobs, well, it just isn't happening. None of Labor's promises on climate policy, the electric cars, the renewable energy, the emissions cuts, the green jobs, the price cuts, the investments, none of it is happening. So rather than admit they got it wrong, Labor is tossing more of your good money after bad. They're promising to underwrite the construction of 32 gigawatts of renewable energy investment. This is taxpayers' money building wind farms and batteries and all the rest of it. But listen to this. He won't tell you what it will cost. Instead, Chris Bowen offers a pathetic, folksy excuse.
So what we're doing is running an auction, and you know, when you run an auction, if you're selling a house, you don't announce how much you expect people to bid, and if you're bidding for a house, you don't announce how much you're going to bid. This is an auction. When you're selling a house, you don't put an announcement out to the bidders to say this is what we expect to make. And when you're bidding for a house, you don't send an email to all the other bidders saying this is what we're going to bid.
Really? Has this bloke been to an auction? This analogy just doesn't work. For instance, when you're selling a house at auction, you give a buyer's guide as to the price and you have a reserve price, all right. And all this is standard and absolutely crucial. And as for buyers, well, of course you go to an auction, you know exactly how much you can afford to bid. Bowen is a clown suggesting otherwise. And more to the point, while Bowen might want to hide the exact estimated cost of each project for commercial reasons, he should tell all of us, the taxpayers, what the rough overall cost of this whole project, this whole scheme will be. But he won't give a single number, and no one is pressing him for one. After a series of interviews today, this policy could cost anywhere from $1 to $1 trillion. This is outrageous. Imagine a coalition government trying to pass off such a major policy totally uncosted. But I'm going to give you a rough number. Bowen has already announced one of these deals yesterday with the New South Wales state government. Yeah, the first auctions have been done. They're going to expand the scheme from here. And they've seen 6 projects chosen for 1 gigawatt of power. Well, not really of power, it's all batteries, so they don't produce any power, just store some for a couple of hours. But the 6 projects will cost $1.8 billion. So, OK, that's $1.8 billion for 1 gigawatt, and Bowen wants to build out 32 gigawatts. So we're talking at least $57.6 billion. Let's round it up, $60 billion, and you pay. We've already spent that and more on our so-called renewable energy transition, and all we've seen is higher prices and less reliable energy. Well, we've seen them, I suppose, but the minister seems to have missed all of that.
Well, the more renewables you have into the system, the cheaper energy will be, because the sun doesn't send a bill and the wind also doesn't send an invoice.
Oh, give us a break. He thinks he's talking to school children or kindergarten kids. Yeah, but the sun doesn't always shine, Minister, and the wind doesn't always blow. And the highest penetration of renewables in this country is in South Australia. And guess what? They have the highest electricity prices. Oh, and one other thing. Bowen was asked about how regional communities can be expected to welcome all these hundreds of extra renewables projects when so many are already opposed. He said the government would improve their consultation processes, and he added this.
We're on a national journey. We need to get to 82% renewables. Rural people will pay a big price if we don't deal with climate change. You know, the impact on farming, productivity and agriculture of climate change is really severe, really strong. Farmers I talk to know that.
Really? Is this bloke this ignorant, or is he just pretending to be that ignorant in order to appeal to the Greens? Nothing Australia does, nothing, and I take as my source the former National Chief Scientist, nothing we do, up to and including getting rid of all of our emissions, just switching off the whole country, none of it can make any discernible difference to the climate. That's just the scientific fact. It would be impossible for us to have any influence. We are reducing our 1% of global emissions at the moment, while global emissions actually continue to rise. So our actions are meaningless. It's all pain, no gain. Bowen is all about maximum pain for this country for minimum gain. That's the very opposite of what a government should be doing. I'll show you some more of Bowen's idiocy later with Tim Blair and Caleb Bond.